The latest Frasier Reboot Season 2 casting announcement excites me, but it also makes Niles and Daphne's continuing absence more upsetting. When word of the Frasier resurrection came in 2021, I was both excited and cautious. Like many others, it is one of, if not my favorite, comedies, but I've watched so many reboots in recent years that have been huge disappointments. The risk of reviving Frasier was much greater because it had a legacy to uphold, 37 primetime Emmys, and a ratings winner for NBC. Frasier can be bothersome when he is alone. You liked him because of the people he surrounded himself with. While he was the spin-off's eponymous character, it was clear to me that the rest of the cast contributed significantly to Frasier's success. Unfortunately, Frasier's transfer to Boston for his final act ended his prospects of routinely seeing the folks he spent time with during his 11 years in Seattle. However, the Frasier Reboot Season 1 finale was able to bring back Roz, with more familiar faces returning for Season 2. Frasier's reboot bringing back more characters makes Niles and Daphne's absence more noticeable. The Frasier Reboot Season 2 will feature Edward Hibbert and Dan Butler reprising their roles as Gil and Bulldog, as work continues. The details of their appearance are unknown, but seeing them after 20 years would be great. They appeared in some of the most memorable scenes from the original. I still laugh at Ham Radio Frasier's highest-rated episode, and both Gil and Bulldog were present. As thrilling as this is, it underlines the huge void left by Niles and Daphne's absence in the revival. John Mahoney's portrayal of Frasier's father, Martin, made him the heart of the original series. However, David Hyde Pierce's Niles was just as vital to the success of the original Frasier. I'd say that he was the show's main character because he had the strongest overall arc, which included his romance with Daphne. My main complaint about the Frasier remake was their absence, and it has only gotten worse since then. If Frasier's former co-workers can pay him a visit in Boston, there is no reason Niles and Daphne cannot either. I enjoyed the reboot enough to argue, in my Frasier Revival Season 1 review, that it was worth giving it a chance. However, while Grammer is still excellent in the role and the rest of the ensemble has potential, I've long realized that it would be tough to outperform the original series in terms of dynamics. In terms of storytelling, Frasier and Niles' banter was excellent. A large part of that was due to the flagship's outstanding writing, but Grammer and Pierce's brotherly chemistry was also unparalleled. It would be wonderful to witness that again. Aside from my selfish desire to see Niles and Frasier reminisce about their days dining at Le Cigar Volante or their road adventures with Martin aboard RDWRER, the Frasier reboot's premise also requires the Crane-Moon coupling to make an appearance. For starters, it doesn't make sense that they're still based in Seattle, especially given Martin's death. At this time, the family should be all together, and since nothing binds them to the Emerald City, I'm assuming Niles has enough money to travel or even relocate. They should be free to visit Boston. In addition to Frasier and Freddie, Niles and Daphne's adult son, David, is now studying at Harvard. I found it unusual that in the Christmas-themed Frasier Reboot Season 1 finale, David was flying back to Seattle for the holidays, when his parents could have easily flown to Boston, given that Frasier, Freddie, and even Roz were already on the East Coast. The revival had David mention his parents on occasion, but it wasn't quite enough to compensate for their absence. If anything, it simply made everything worse. Why aren't Niles and Daphne actually in the Frasier reboot? I've been covering the Frasier remake since Grammer first mentioned its possibility, and I know Niles and Daphne's absence isn't due to a lack of effort to obtain them. The original intention for the revival was to bring back Frasier and Niles with the premise that they would run a black box theater. Unfortunately, Hyde Pierce and Jane Leaves chose to pass up this opportunity. For what it's worth, Pierce has long opposed the idea of reviving Frasier, claiming that it was a product of its time. He also mentioned the potential for tarnishing the show's heritage. I completely understand Pierce's feelings, especially since the previous series concluded his character's journey in such a wonderful manner. However, the absence of Niles and Daphne in the Frasier remake is much more destructive to the franchise's heritage. The brothers' inability to spend their first Christmas together after Martin died had a significant impact on their father's memories, given how much he enjoyed the holiday. At the very least, Niles and Daphne should appear as guests during the revival. Will Niles and Daphne ever appear in the Frasier reboot? The last time questioned about the Frasier relaunch, Pierce was pleased for Grammer and the people behind it, but he has not changed his mind. While Leaves has yet to make an official statement on the situation, it is safe to assume that she, too, stands by her previous decision on the subject. Grammer has stated that Niles and Daphne can join the Frasier relaunch, implying that Pierce and Leaves have the final say.